In this video, we're talking about the 10 makeup items I think every woman over 50 should own. You know, for a lot of us, we had our makeup down really great in our 20s and 30s, and it just didn't seem to work the same way in our 40s and definitely not in our 50s. So either we just stuck with it because it's what we know, or some of us have given up on makeup altogether. It can be really tricky post-menopause to do a makeup look that you're happy with. And so these are the 10 things I think that will get you there. The first thing I think every woman should own is primer. I don't think any of us are 100% happy with the way our face looks. And primer does a couple of things. One, it helps blur, camouflage, fix some of the things we don't like. And two, it provides a really smooth surface for the rest of the makeup to go on, which is going to make it last longer and look better. There are so many primers on the market at any price point. So that's everything from e.l.f., right? This is their poreless putty primer. So if you've got pores you don't like the size of, a putty primer might be good for you. This is a pretty good dupe for the Tatcha primer, which is at a much higher price point. Maybe you've got some discoloration that you want to even out. In that case, the Stila One-Step Color Correction might be a good primer for you. And as you can see, it's got purple and green and orange, so it's going to counteract reds and yellows in the skin. Maybe you want a little brightening. Maybe your skin's a little dull. You want it to be brighter. You want to have a glow. The Maybelline 4-in-1 is a good option for the drugstore brand, and this is supposed to be a good dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. I consider myself very lucky. I don't struggle with pore size. I don't have a lot of discoloration. What I do though is have dry skin, dehydrated skin. So I really like the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I feel like this is kind of a really nice hybrid between a primer and a moisturizer. So in the morning, I do my entire skincare routine, including sunscreen, and then I go in with my primer. I do a little tap on one finger to get my forehead, and then I really work it under my eyes, and then just pick up a little bit more to do the rest of my face. Like I said, it provides an even surface for makeup to go onto, and so it really is going to look a lot better with a primer. The second thing I think every woman over 50 should own is a foundation. Now, we are not all looking for the same thing in a foundation. Some of us want a really natural look. Some of us have discoloration we want to cover over. Some of us are just looking for a more finished look. Maybe you just want to even out your skin tone. Something like a BB or a CC cream might be a good option for you. This is something that has skincare ingredients in it, plus a little bit of coverage. Now, if you're trying to cover over age spots or redness, this is probably not going to be enough coverage for you. Liquid foundations are very popular. Most days, that's what I'm using. And you can get all kinds of different finishes. Maybe you, again, want a little luminosity, or you just want something long wearing, you want something mattifying. And this is another product where you can either spend very little or a whole lot of money and still get something really good that will work for you. If you want something between a BB and if you want something between a BB or a CC cream and something that's a more traditional liquid foundation, something really hydrating like this Estee Lauder Futurist Hydra Foundation or the Charlotte Tilbury Perfect Skin are kind of in that middle space, so more coverage than a BB cream, not as much as like a medium coverage foundation. And for some reason in the summertime, I really like stick foundations. In fact, as you can see here, I have been testing a bunch. I have thoughts. Least expensive one I picked up was from Milk. And Milk is a brand that I like. I like their primer. I like their mascara. You know, for what it's worth, they're a clean brand. I will say that their stick foundation, though, it's going to be one of the lighter coverage ones. So if you just want a little evening out of skin tone, but want your natural skin to shine through, the Milk one may be a good one for you. I will say of the 4 that I've been trying, this is the one that really consistently settles into fine lines and wrinkles, however. So, not my favorite. Next up is Bobbi Brown, and that's what that looks like. I do like on this one that it's more like a lipstick tube, like the whole bottom you can turn on that Milk. I don't know if you noticed the Milk, you turn the bottom and that controls how much is coming out. I like the Bobbi Brown. It's a little more coverage than the Milk, not as much as the other 2 I'm going to show you. And it wears nicely. It doesn't settle super badly into fine lines and wrinkles. So yeah, that's a good one. Moving up in price from Westman Atelier. This is the packaging that I like the least because you have to hold on to the tippy top and then that's how the product goes in and out. So for that reason alone, I'm not a huge fan. But I will say this gives close to medium coverage. It blends really nicely. It wears really well. Except for this, it's a really good product. Oh, and I love the magnetic closure on it, right? So if you're packing it or tossing it in your bag, it's not going to come open. And then the most expensive one, and of course the one I like the most, is from Tom Ford. Here again, it's a nice closing lid. And it's easy to get the product out. It's a little bit bigger than the rest of them, and for that reason, I do find it goes on a little bit easier. That was one thing, the one thing I didn't really love about the Bobbi Brown. It's kind of small. I mean, look at the difference there. So today, I'm going to use the Tom Ford. And I'm not quite sure why I feel like stick foundations are so much less work than other. You know, you just kind of swipe it on and rub it in, which honestly, okay, for a liquid foundation, you pump it out and rub it in. I don't know, just for some reason it feels less fussy. And you can see that okay, this just popped in my mind. It's like painting a wall, right? When you paint, right, you put the paint on in a W and then you roll it out. In this case, I do kind of a 7 and a backwards 7 and then just blend it in with my fingers. And then I'm going to hit a little bit on my nose and chin. So I'm starting to look put together. I will say the third thing I think every woman over 50 should own is a brow product. Brow pencils, this particular one is from Benefit. I also really love the one from NYX. Elf's got a good one. So again, kind of any price point. I'm just going to do one brow, and I know you've seen this a gazillion times here on the YouTubes before, but I'm gonna do one just so you can see the difference. Need I say more? Brows frame our face. I feel like when your brows are done, it gives you a little bit of a lift. Who doesn't want that? So having said that, I'm going to go ahead and do this eye now. I do like a brow product with a little tiny tip, and I focus most of my effort at the inside, little strokes, and then I try really hard just to do one single stroke out at the end. Oops, and that one went a little long. The nice thing is, you can just kind of rub it away if it goes a little long. And then I just use a spoolie to kind of work the product in and distribute it, give it a little more natural finish. The next two things that I think you should own are powder and blush. But depending on what you're using for your blush, depends on what order you put them on. Let me explain. If you're using some kind of liquid blush, you want to put that on before you put your powder on. If you're using a more traditional powder blush, you want to powder and then put that blush on. So I'm going to use a powder blush today. So I'm going to go ahead and use powder right now. Personally, I will use both setting powder and finishing powder, even when I'm just doing a run out the door makeup look. And I really like the Wayne, oops, that's a shiny package. I really like the Wayne Goss weightless powder. This can actually be used for setting and finishing. I will say Wet n Wild has a great loose powder. So does Maybelline. So really a wide variety of price points, again, for really good makeup. And when I'm setting, I've got powder loaded on my brush. I have to do a little swipe down the middle and then kind of work it out from there. I don't really get shiny in my T-zone so much anymore. Not like I did in my 30s and 40s. But I still like just a light layer of powder to help everything stay in place. And, you know, I like kind of a matte look to my face. I'm not really into the luminous look. We all have our favorites. Some people like to do a statement cheek, statement lip, statement eyes. Pick one, not all three. I tend to like more natural, subdued shades of blush. So First Love from Charlotte Tilbury, and that's got the, you know, the two colors in it. From the drugstore, this Milani Rose Powder Blush is lovely. It comes in such pretty shades. And also from Essence, just a really pretty, what I mean is kind of just a neutral blushy shade. So you know what, let's go in with the Essence today. Kind of a bigger, not a huge fluffy brush, not a teeny tiny brush, just the Goldilocks medium right size blush. And I start back here and work it a little bit forward. So you can see, just gives a little brightness to my face, a little definition. That's why we like blush. The next item is eyeshadow. Now, I will admit there are a lot of days where all I do is put on my MAC paint pot in the shade Painterly, because it is the one that is closest to my skin tone, and call that good. What I like about this product that I get from more so in the MAC paint pot than other primers is it evens out the skin tone on my eyelids. I have a few veins that show through, so it covers those over. It gives me a nice primed surface for eyeshadow if I'm doing eyeshadow that day. Otherwise, it just makes my eyelids look better. These days, I have just been loving basic, neutral eyeshadow palettes. And honestly, the one I reach for the most is this one from ColourPop. That's Taupe. It is a fabulous 9 palette eyeshadow palette. It's a really good one. I also like 4 or 5 shadow palettes. I don't want to make so many decisions if I'm just trying to rush out the door, but sometimes I do want the full array of neutrals. And you know, we're coming up on the Nordstrom anniversary sale, and MAC always seems to have a palette for that sale. And what I like about these is, this is the one from 2 years ago. You get a lot of basics, but then you just get a pop or two. So if you are kind of a minimalist for your makeup and it needs to do a lot of things, this palette, or really any other palette that's got maybe 1 or 2 colors that stand out, make it easy to do a daytime look or a more dramatic or fun nighttime look. And since I've sort of been hinting at this as kind of a minimalist, throw it together, out the door, but still look put together look, I will do just that, what I do for that. So I am going to pick up in this MAC palette, this plum shade here. And bear with me for a moment. This is my go-to Morphe 432 flat shader brush. I love this brush. I own literally 5 or 6 of these because they're so cheap. And what I do is I go underneath my lower lash line here, okay? And then I go right above my upper lash line. And now this one I'm drawing out. And that lower one, since I just stamped it on the outside, now I'm going to pull it in, smooth it out. But the reason I did that is I didn't want a super dark line down below. I wanted a little bit above. And you can see how doing that has really opened up my eye, given me a much more finished, full makeup look without too much makeup. Now for me, my lashes are very light, and even though, spoiler alert, mascara is going to be on this list, I like something that gives my eyes a little more, not depth, it opens them up a bit more. Eye Tightline. It goes really fast, and I think it makes a big difference. And my absolute favorite, I mean, look how tiny these are. My absolute favorite right now eyeliners for tight lining are the CoverGirl 24-hour Exhibitionist. And the 2 colors I use the absolute most are the gray one, which I think is charcoal, and the brown one. So today I'm going to use the brown, and what I will do, I will tightline one eye, not the other. I'll leave it up later, but just so you can really see what a difference it makes. Pro tip, if you wear contacts, I find that when I'm doing tight lining that I manipulate how I'm tilting my head and where I'm putting the pencil to keep the pencil away from my contact. Otherwise, you get a little smudge on your contact, and this stuff is so good sometimes it doesn't want to come off. Okay, so I have tight lined this eye. I have not tight lined this eye, and I think you can see a real difference. Which brings us to product number 9, which is mascara. Again, there's a bunch of good drugstore mascaras. I especially like the Maybelline. Oh, it comes in a purple tube. If I can find it, I'll put it down here. During the Sephora sale, I picked up the full size of the Valentino mascara. Loving it. So let's put some mascara on. When I do mascara, I do 2 coats each side, but I don't go back into the tube. I find if I go back in the tube, I get too much mascara. If I only do 1 coat, I don't get enough. So for me, this is my happy medium. And again, this was the eye I tightlined. I did not tightline this eye. So you can see, I hope you can see, that for me, this just has a more finished look. The final item I think every woman should own is lipstick, lip gloss, tinted lip balm, something for your lips. That last step of lip color really just puts the whole thing together, in my opinion. Most days I am grabbing a neutral or sheer lip gloss. Like this one from Buxom. You know, I love the glossed line from Sephora, and even though that looks like it would be awfully dark, it is so sheer that you just get a little wash of color. Fenty Gloss Bombs. I still really, really love these. So moisturizing. Maybe a little heavier texture, so if you don't, I won't call them gloppy, but if you don't like gloppy glosses, you might not like the Fenty. Always love to give a shout out for good drugstore products. These Mega Slicks from Wet n Wild, again, just a little bit of shine, a little polish, very nice. I own probably somewhere around 100 lip glosses, lipsticks. I love them. And you know, even in my lipsticks, sometimes I like to go for a more neutral, but sometimes you want a statement lip. And before I put this on, maybe some of you are going, Kris, you don't look quite the same as you did in the last frame. And that's right. When I was editing this today, this section was completely out of focus because it has been much too long since I shot one of these. So here I am. Anyway, that meant I got to go back and look through all my lipsticks, and I have maybe half a dozen lipsticks from Uma. And I love them. They are so rich, so fabulous. And this one is called Bahia. Look at that. Can you see the sparkles and the glitters in here? So I'm going to take what is a very minimal, nude, natural looking makeup look and kick it up a notch with my lipstick. I just think it is such a pretty color, and of course it really did transform the look. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, you might like this video I did on getting ready in 5 minutes, or this playlist with all of my makeup videos.